Hey, my name is Yolanda, and welcome to Frank Factualities, the podcast. Tune in each week as I speak frankly about life experiences from my perspective and offer you a bit of unsolicited advice. Let's take a little time to laugh, to think, and to cry as we tackle some serious topics and some not so serious topics. Be sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Hey, welcome to Frank Factualities, the podcast. My name is Yolanda. Thank you for tuning into my show for another week and joining me for another episode. How do I feel? I feel better. Rob from My Experience podcast, he's been on the show, guys. You all have heard me talk about him before. He's my podcast mentor. I guess he heard the episode where I was talking about my arm. And he reached out to see how I was doing, and I showed him I sent a picture. I have the brace on my hand that you could just get from Walgreens. Typically, people use this type of brace for like carpal tunnel. Now, I've had carpal tunnel in the past, and that part I probably left out with him. Because what I told him was, hey, I self-diagnosed myself. It's carpal tunnel, and I just bought this brace from Walmart. And he's like, you need to go to the doctor. Because it really did hurt. Now, it's the worst carpal tunnel I've ever had. Normally, it's just in my wrist. But I had it at 20 something and I'm now 40 something. So, and to be honest, I had never done what I did to get the carpal tunnel. I had been working. We had a deadline, or at least we needed to have student schedules done by a certain time. It was really that Monday. And I literally had from Thursday to really Friday to get them all done. And I was only like 10% done by the time that Thursday had come. So I just pulled some all-nighters Friday night and Saturday night. I think I told you all I stayed up to 3 one night and then like 2 one night, and then like 4 the next morning, just working nonstop. So I think that I just overdid it. I sprained it, did whatever, damn it. Like it was just too much. My wrist was like, okay, I can't work nonstop for 12, 14, whatever ham sandwich hours I was putting in. It was tired. And when I went to sleep, I only went to sleep for like maybe 3 or 4 hours, and I was back up and I was back at it again. So it wasn't just, okay, I did it, I took a break. It was a back-to-back all-nighter for 2 nights back-to-back. And I can't front. It feels better in the brace. It's not like it doesn't hurt at all ever. But I can tell when I go to try to do similar work, that's when I feel the pain the most. And I think I have some time to go to the doctor tomorrow. And I think it's not that I can't go to the doctor, but I don't know if you all experience the same type of doctor visits I experience, because I can't stand it. You go to the doctor, they really can't tell you, because half of the time they don't have the equipment or the things in the office to say what's wrong. They ask you where the pain is. They press down on a couple of things, especially this type of pain, right? And then they say, okay, what they think it is based on what you and I mean, they got better expertise now. I'm not knocking the doctors and their degrees and their education. I swear to God, I'm not, in their experience. But they give you an example of what they think it is and says, maybe I'll send you to a specialist, or here's some pain medicine. Don't use it. Stay off of it. Or I'm going to send you to therapy. So no matter what, I feel like you don't really know. I always feel like you need to go in there and look. And until you look, then you don't know. You know, we got too much technology for us to be guessing these days. But I understand those things are expensive. And I think that's my pet peeve. Why am I spending all this money to visit you just for you to tell me nothing? And then if I really, really want to know, I got to spend mega bucks to get an x-ray, an MRI, or something that's going to look a little deeper. Because the last time I went about pain in my arm or like ligaments, it was my shoulder. My shoulder was bothering me really bad. And I was just like, okay, I finally got it. Because I went to the emergency room because I kept telling people, because I went to the regular orthopedic doctor. I don't know what you call it. I'm assuming that's the name. Don't quote me on that. But I think that's what he is. And I got referred because I kept saying something's wrong with my arm. So they referred me, and he pretty much took an x-ray and nothing was broken, because the x-ray, I think, is just showing your bones. I knew nothing was broken, but my arm hurt. And I didn't look as fit as I know when I got the injury. So I guess he assumed I didn't exercise. It's my right arm now. So he's like, oh, you just need therapy. You need to exercise it more. And I don't know why people tell you that. We know the difference between a stiff pain, like I need to stretch, I need to work my arm out, versus, okay, no, this shit hurt. And I felt insulted. But I was like, you know what, it is what it is. I went to the therapy. It made it worse. I mean, it was bad, and it never got better. There was no ease up. There was nothing. So I was just like, this isn't working. So I didn't even tell him. I just stopped going. And then my next visit, I was like, I'm not doing that. And I stopped doing it because it hurt. So he kept saying, well, the only thing I can do is give you these shots. So I was just like, I didn't want to get the shots. I was just so against the shots because you're just giving me these shots and you still don't know what it is. So my homegirl was a RN at the time. She worked at an emergency room, and she says, well, because my arm was just bothering me this day. And when my arm would bother me, I couldn't raise my arm. So it wasn't like, okay, not only am I in pain, but I also can't move my arm to a certain point. And she says, well, it's this doctor that is here in the emergency room that no matter what you want, a need, he'll give it to you. He'll put in a request, because she's like, doctors don't like to put in a request for MRIs because they're expensive and a lot of insurance companies don't pay for them. So that's why doctors don't want to do them. So when you thinking like, just give me an MRI, they're thinking, okay, your doctor isn't going to pay for this, so why would I request it? So, and I don't know what it is about this position, but every time I get in this chair, my arm, it ain't hurt all day now. Before I got on this podcast, my arm was not bothering me, so I need to change my position. Sorry if you hear a bunch of noise. So anyway, she's like, yo, he'll order whatever it is that you need. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna order this MRI. So I get and I tell him my pain, and I was like, I think I need an MRI. The doctor's already done an X-ray. I really just need to see what's going on. So he does the MRI. And she's like, hell, he'll send the MRI to your doctor if you tell him you already have a doctor. So I went to the emergency room. The MRI said I had 2 tears in my rotator cuff. Now, let's back up to when I told you I went to a doctor now who told me that I just needed therapy and I needed to exercise more because there was nothing wrong. You can't see a tear in my rotator cuff. And you didn't know that I used to do mixed martial arts. And you didn't know that I was heavily working out during that time when I heard it. I just didn't know where the pain came from. And over time, it just got worse because I didn't do anything about it. So the pain just got unbearable because I have a high pain tolerance. It wasn't something immediately that I needed to go take care of. But over time, I lost function in my arms. I had to go. But you didn't ask me any backup questions like, okay, well, when did this start? What were you doing at the time? You just made a judgment based on how I looked and said, well, nothing can't be wrong. So yeah, no, but something was wrong. So then he says, yeah, you can get surgery, but if you get surgery, this is going to be your downtime. And it's no guarantee. Such a small tear. I would just get these cortisol. It's not cortisol, y'all, cortisone, whatever the hell the name is of the steroid shot, right? Just get that. And I don't even know if it's steroid, but y'all know what I'm talking about. It's like a pain shot. They give it to you and you don't feel anything. So I pay like $70 a pop to get these shots, and I got them religiously every 3 months. And the last shot I remember getting was on my wedding day. I got a shot. I was like, I got to get the shot before my wedding, or I'm not even going to be able to put my arm on my husband's shoulder to dance with him, which is true. I couldn't raise my arm up to put my arms around his neck dancing because that's how much limited my mobility was on my arm. So anyway, I got the shot on my wedding day or the day before my wedding, and I did not get a shot after that because 3 months later and sometime in between that, and if you hear the Velcro, it's me taking off this brace because it's a little tight. I ended up going vegan, just straight vegan. I went just cold turkey vegan, my daughter and I. And I'm going to be honest, when I went vegan, I had no inflammation anymore. My arm didn't hurt and I had no need to go get my shot. So I don't know if the tears fix themselves. I have no idea, but I know that I have mobility in my arm. I can raise my arm. My shoulder doesn't bother me anymore. And I just don't think that, and I know you can find another doctor, but sometimes their bedside manner is just horrible. Sometimes they don't take your concerns seriously. And that's what I had ended up in. So that does give me trepidation about going places because I just got a feeling I'm going to pay $150 for you to tell me, continue to wear your brace, take some painkillers, here's a prescription, and yeah, you probably sprained it, or yes, you have carpal tunnel and there's nothing really we can do about it. But I also don't want it to be anything serious, and that also crosses my mind. But because I know exactly what I was doing around the time that it happened, I got a feeling that's what it is. Sometimes, it's just as simple as that. So anyway, I'll update y'all next week on what's going on with this arm. I've been wearing a brace and everybody's like, what happened? Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I just had to beat a few bitches' ass. And of course they looked at me like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like nobody believed me and I really wanted to be believed. And so my coworker was just like, girl, you would probably laugh before you fight somebody, which is true. I don't take anything serious. And I probably would be like, seriously, I'm not doing this. I would have to be extremely angry, and not much has made me angry these days, and which is a good thing. I haven't been like extremely upset. I've been hella frustrated before recently, but never like extremely angry. Not in a very long time. I'm very grateful of that. Anyway, there's no street talk. I don't know what's going on. My arm is going on. Work is going on. Today we had our district convocation. I don't know if you guys know what that is if you're not in the education world, but it's pretty much this big pep rally for your school district. So every single school, every elementary, middle, high school in your school district gets together and you have this mega like welcome back to school rally. So they usually have a speaker. They announce the district teacher of the year, district support staff of the year. We had district principal of the year, district assistant principal of the year. And then there's like this huge roll call where every school has their chant. And you go around the room and you shout your school. Every school has like 30 seconds, which everybody takes longer to do a chant and shout out their school. Well, this year they added money to it. Like the winner got $1,000 for their school. Long and short, we didn't win, but that's okay. We gave it all the effort we had. And so that was pretty cool. It's always cool every year. And then after that, they release us after all of that goes on, our speaker and everything. And then we have to go to another location, which is our local fairgrounds where they have like the county fair, and they have a bunch of food trucks out there. They give us like these 3 tokens, which are $5 each. So we have $15 to go to any food truck for our lunch. And then we have to go back to work. Some people don't. Their principals don't make them, but we're in the process of moving into a brand new building. So we definitely needed that time to unpack all of our things that were placed over there. So that's been my day. And yeah, so as I'm watching people and as I'm at convocation, and one of the reasons I brought it up, there was just a lot of judging, right? And when I say judging, like the principals walked with a different air. The people that worked at the district level walked with a certain air. And, I was just people watching today. And I don't know if people understand that I always say this, but we are how we were raised. The guy who was speaking talked about his upbringing and being a family of 14 in a 2-bedroom house and not having and coming from nothing and wanting to just do something meaningful and have a purpose behind it, and how he overcame all of these things. And some people got it out of the mud and some people didn't. And I really don't like that people judge others for maybe how they live, the type of clothes they wear. You don't have a designer bag, but I have a designer bag, when we honestly don't know people's core values. And I feel like in conjunction with how we were raised, our core values are different. And when you have a different core value and that guides your principles, and your just standards are just going to be different from one person to the next. The way you make your choices, the way you behave, what is meaningful to you is just going to be different. And yes, we judge, but kind of this is the reason why we shouldn't judge, because what means something to you may not mean anything to me. What you may think a person is jealous of you for, I really don't give a shit. They really don't give a shit, because it's not something that hits them at their core. I was watching a TikTok and this lady was talking about how designer and design have changed, saying that fashion now and designer has become very loud, where before designer was a quiet, like it was quiet luxury. So you would have luxury, but it wasn't loud. It wasn't brandy. You didn't sit your Hermes bag on the table at dinner so people can see it and that you take a picture. It was out of sight, out of mind. You having the bag and walking in with the confidence in the bag was what luxury was about, not it being seen, and not by you having multiple logos everywhere so people can know, oh, this is a Louis bag, this is a Gucci bag. And I'm not a purse girl anyway. I'm not a luxury girl, period. But if I like it, I'm going to buy it, and I can't stand a purse. And so if it's over $20, I'm going to be pissed. A purse doesn't do nothing for me. It don't bring it's just not something I value. I don't like to get my nails done. I don't want to. It feels like something's on my hand. I get the ick. I feel the same way about bracelets and rings. And so I only wear my wedding ring, and that took forever. But what are your core values? And do you know what that is? You know what core values are, but in case you don't, it's just like, your faith could be a core value: leadership, honesty, courage, communication, empathy, respect, inclusivity, inclusion, leadership, growth, whatever it is. It's a bunch of them. It's peace, love, family, kindness. It's a bunch. You hear me rattling them off, right? And if your core value is wealth, then you may want to show it, and you may feel like, okay, well, if you don't have worth, then I don't see the value in you. And that's how people lead their life. And that's how sometimes you get dismissed. That's how sometimes people don't fool with you. They don't want to invite you to stuff because this is a high dollar event and you don't give high dollar, so you're not coming. Some people's core value is their education. Some people's core value is their job and their status there. And obviously, me being around a lot of educators, people put value in their role in education, their leadership role. I work at the district level. I am a principal. I am this, but not knowing that a lot of people's core value doesn't lead them down that path. If your passion is children, a lot of times those people don't want to become a principal because you're further away from direct instruction. You're further away from direct contact with the kids on a day-to-day basis. You don't have a class of 30 that you see every day, or 60 or 90. You're dealing with paperwork. You're dealing with personnel. You see the kids, but you're a figure. And so the kids are like, oh, the principal. They see you, but they don't see you. You know what I'm saying? They don't have the same type of bond unless you just happen to be in their office 24/7. And it's just not the same. Principals may argue because I've never been one, but to me, the further away you get from, and I'm not a teacher, I'm a school counselor, but I see kids, I do groups with kids, I do classroom lessons. I just don't want to be an assistant principal. I don't want to be a principal. I don't want to be in any role of leadership. It has no value for me. It does nothing for me. It's no passion of mine. And as you get older, you may not understand this as a legit, but when you become at least 30, you should understand that things that mean something to you ain't gonna mean something to everybody else. And everybody ain't gonna give a shit that, oh, I got a bunch of money. I'm trying to get my son out of that. He's going back to school, and right now he's thinking, and I get it, he's a kid. What else he got to worry about? But it's about fashion for him right now. What do I look like? I got to be the flyest. I want to be the flyest. I want people to be like, where you get this from? How you got that? Where it's from? Now he feels like he got something a standard to live up to because they thought he was fly last year. So like, oh, well, what are you wearing? People call him for fashion advice. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's your little thing. However, life ain't really about that. And I've said this before. I don't know when and on what episode, but if there's one thing I would change with my upbringing of my children, it is that I would incorporate more giving. I would want them to be I would want them to be more selfless. I would want them to be a little bit more compassionate towards others and considerate and just selfless, just be selfless. What the fuck am I saying? I would want them to just be less selfish, just give to others, think about other people before thinking about yourself, and to not put so much value in those things. And I know that I made it easy for them to get what they want, within reason. I'm not like, you're not getting a $925 Balenciaga t-shirt. I mean, no, you can get the DH Gate version if I feel like it. But my son, if he wears brand, I try to get a brand that's reasonable, not a Bottega, but a step or two down from a Bottega. Definitely not a Bottega. They got their own little brands. There's a brand called Lauder that he likes really. So I'll get those things. It's not a $30 shirt. It may be more like a $80, it may be $120. Every now and then I might get $100 shirt. $150 maybe. We're not pushing $200. I spend $200 on maybe some shoes. I've done that before, but shoes are something, especially if your foot isn't growing anymore, they can last you pretty good. And depending on what type of sneaker you get and you keep up with them, they got a really good resale value on a lot of those, even used. And so I would consider that, but I have a limit. Now with his money, he can do what he wants. And that's what he's been doing because he worked for the summer. So he got to spend it how he wants. And no, I don't have it. So if you want to get $150 shirt, then maybe you ain't gonna have that many shirts, okay, if that's the goal that you have. And like I tried to tell him, that's not something you buy for an everyday fit for school. That's something you pop out in when you got something going on. So all them little parties he likes to go to, those things are perfect for stuff like that. It's not I'm gonna wear a $200 shirt to school every single day. That's not the vibe. And just kind of getting him to understand that, because I don't want his core values to be some petty superficial stuff. I just don't. And it's not never too late to teach your kids some more values and to teach them kindness and all these different things. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, you have to make sure that you aren't expecting what you deem as valuable amongst all the people that you work with, you're friends with, because y'all all are going to see everything that you do in life differently based on what those core values are. And yeah, frankly, the fact of the matter is we all got different ones, and sometimes it doesn't align, and it doesn't mean that these people are wrong, something wrong with them, who raised them, what you got going on, but it was how they were raised now, but that doesn't make it a bad thing. It just makes it what it is. So I now that I'm thinking about it, like, what are my core values? Lately, my core value has been, number one, family. No, let's scratch that. Health. I've been really worried and stressed out about my health and my overall well-being for my future. Family is very important to me. My integrity is very important. And when I say that, I mean, like, who am I to my core? Am I an honest person? Am I a trustworthy person? Am I loyal? That is important to me. I want to make sure that that's how people view me. I don't want to be viewed as a nasty, sneaky, vindictive, lying, conniving person. That's real, especially in the workplace, especially amongst friends. I don't want to be seen, and I thrive myself on that. Sometimes my honesty can be a bit brute, can be a bit frank, can be a bit not right now, not at this time, you know. However, I think that honesty is truly the best policy. I think that truth ends with a period and lies in a question mark. That means that if I lie to you or anybody lies to you, you're going to have 50 million questions about it, because when something doesn't make sense, it's typically a lie. However, when I tell you the truth, you should have no questions after that. You are either going to be appalled or you're going to be relieved. But what you won't be is concerned. What you won't be doing is questioning me. I gave you the answers. I told you the truth. And sometimes there's no explanation for that. Maybe I was just an asshole. Maybe it just is what it is. Maybe I did what was in the best interest of me, which is what most people do anyway. And that is fair. We have to see that as well, as that's fair for you to do what's in the best interest. We had a professional development yesterday. It wasn't today. And we had to pick a question, and it was like 6 questions, and I don't remember all. And it was, you know, some of the little icebreaker questions. If you could have a dinner with someone dead or alive, who would it be and why? You know, those type of questions. But you had to pick which question you wanted and answer it. And this was our introduction to all the amongst all the counselors in the school district, and we were virtual. So I chose the question. It was like, what's the philosophy you live by? And how does it like guide your life? And so I have this quote on the bottom of my email, and I live by it. I love this quote, and I got it from a movie, and I don't remember what movie. It was a basketball movie, and it was like a above the rim basketball movie. It might have been above the rim. I don't remember, but it was a hood basketball story. And the boy said to the man that great minds don't think alike. They think for themselves, because he said great minds think alike. And he's like, no, they don't. They think for themselves. So I remixed it, you know, great minds don't think alike. They think for themselves. And I say that because everything that I wanted to do in my life, no one else understood. They didn't know what my values were and what I was trying to do and what was important for me. What they knew was it wasn't something that they saw value in. And number one, I can give you an example of was college. My dad and I were just talking about this when he was over there. I was like, you don't understand how hard it was. Everybody's like, oh, I'm so proud of you. You went to college, you got your master's, blah, blah, blah. But when I was in undergrad, which took me forever, by the way, I graduated in 1998. I went straight to college. I was supposed to graduate in 2002 with my undergraduate degree, but I didn't graduate until 2005. That was because I went my freshman year, I was on academic probation. At the end of that year, I came back for sophomore year. The first semester I got suspended. I was on academic suspension because that happens when you fail in classes, you're not doing well. So when you do that, you have to sit out. So I had to sit out all of the rest of that year. I don't remember if I came back my junior year, but eventually I came back, and then I had to stop. I took a break because life was life, and right, I had gotten evicted. It was just a lot going on. And so I was out of school, and then I finally went back and I finished, in which everybody didn't think I was going back. So long and short, I did it for a very long time. So in this process of going back to school, stopping, going back to school, people were just like, why? Because as I stated, I was getting evicted. I was getting cars repossessed. They didn't see it. It's like, to them, school was a waste of time. Why don't you just get you a decent job and just grind? I had a job, but I was working a call center. At the time, I wasn't making as much money. And it was like, you can get 2 jobs in the time that you spending at school. But I knew that it was a means to an end. School was going to bring me the money in the long run that I wanted and needed. But I just needed them to be patient. But no one saw the value in that. It was stupid to them because nobody in my family had gone to college, not a 4-year college. I think I had a couple of aunts that may have gone to a technical school, but that wasn't something that we even knew about. I didn't learn about that until after I got my degree. And it was just like, oh, she's the first in the family. Well, no, I went to the tech school. So I can't confirm or, deny it. I just know that that's what they said after the fact. But anyway, so I told my father it was hard. It was very hard because no one saw that. But I thought differently, and I never thought what everybody else thought. And that made me feel and be treated like I was crazy a lot, because they would say a thing and I would say, no, I don't believe that. I don't think it's true. This is how I feel about the thing. And I was so passionate and I felt so strongly about it that I stood true to it, to my detriment. Those ideas and thoughts and just feelings that I had, I would say, led to me being kicked out at 17 and homeless. Those things led to me probably being beat up by a couple of my boyfriends here and there, because I just felt so passionate about certain things and I just believed in certain things, and I just wouldn't back down from them, because to my core, that is what I felt. And I'm still like that today. I will question you down if something doesn't make sense to me. I will make the decision that's best for me. I think for myself, I don't ever let anybody convince me to do a thing. I don't ever let anyone make a decision for me. It is very hard for me to trust people to say, I'm relinquishing all of my trust to you and I'm just going to let you handle it. I have an issue with that because, again, I want it to be a decision that I make, and I want to have my hands in it. And if I don't have my hands in it and it doesn't go my way, then I'm really going to be upset. I'd rather make a mistake on my own, learn from that mistake so I can be better at my future, right? I even got that tattooed on my chest, right? It's a symbol that indicates that's how I feel. I have to learn from my mistakes in order to build towards my future. If I don't know what I've done in the past and the things that I need to correct, then I can't ever be better. So tonight, I just encourage you to think for yourself. I think that too often when we see people taking a path, we think that that's their path for us, when that may not work for us. That just may not be the way we need to get to things. And another quick example, and I'm gonna let y'all go, is easy too, something not so heavy as homelessness and stuff, right? But diets. How many people is like, ooh, she said she lost because she was on a vegan diet and she was eating yogurt every day and she was eating cereal every day. And I'm gonna try that. I think the easiest way to lose weight is to listen to your body. I know for a fact that I cannot eat 3 meals a day. I've learned that about my body. I know that I have a very slow metabolism. I always have. And what has worked for me is when I stop eating, when my body say, you ain't hungry. I'm still chewing on this, baby. I don't know what you're doing. This is just, I'm gonna have to store all of this because I can't do nothing with it. It's gonna sit here for a while now. But because it's sitting there for a while, that's the energy I need to burn and store. And instead of it just sitting there, I need to burn it off. So don't eat when your body says you don't need to eat. No, the people made up 3 meals a day. You got to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Man, our ancestors wasn't eating no 3 meals a day. They couldn't. Nobody back in the day that's why when you see them old pictures, ain't nobody been heavy, because it just wasn't eating the way we eat. You ain't got to eat 3 meals a day. And trust me, you ain't going to die. People fast all the time and they don't die. So all I'm saying is, I ain't saying that's your way to lose weight. You may have a different way. I'm saying that I can't eat after 5 o'clock. I really don't want to eat after 6, but 6 is about the latest. But I can't eat after 5, and I need to exercise. I got to move. If I don't move, ain't nothing coming off. I have to. I just can't eat. My coworker got a heavy metabolism. It'd be 9 o'clock. She'd be like, what's for lunch? I'd be like, dang, I just ate breakfast and I ain't hungry. And sometimes after breakfast, I'm not hungry till 2. And then if I eat something too, it's a wrap. I don't need to eat the rest of the day. But following everybody else, sometimes I eat my family. I ain't really listen to other people, but now I got to feed them. So what do? Eat just because it's in front of me and everybody else is eating, but I'm really not hungry. And now you wonder why the weight is on you. You see what I'm saying? So anyway, man, think for yourself. Follow your true core values. Don't let anybody make you feel like you're less than because their values are different from yours. Theirs aren't elite and yours aren't less than. It's just yours and it's just theirs. Okay. And until next week, y'all, I'll holla. Bye.